Another class that has continued to inspire me to think broader and to build upon the experiences that I've had over time. But first, let me just leave you with one theme, Class 8. There's one theme I would ask you to take into consideration. You were selected for a reason. If you connect with the people around you, you connect the dots around you, you can change the world. If I can leave that theme with you, and to understand why this is so passionate for me, let me just tell you a couple of minutes of my background. So I'm from the Midwest, this little town in the southeastern corner of Ohio, in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. We claimed there was 15,000 people there, if you count the livestock. And it was a wonderful place to grow up as a child, and I was blessed to have my hero and mentor, who was my father, there for me that whole time. Went to school, I joined this wee little company called GE, General Electric. And within my very first few years of being at GE, I actually ended up, for some reason, being privileged with doing 3 different business startups. Now, all 3 of those companies are still up and running today. And every time I got into one of those startups, the first phone call I made was to my father. And I always said, "Dad, what did I do? I'm in over my head again." And he would always talk me through it. He would always get me to the other side. And then after the 3rd startup, I realized that I wanted to expand my financial skills. I didn't have the financial skills that I desired, I wanted, I felt like I needed. And a CFO of one of the divisions adopted me. He took a risk on me, one I probably didn't deserve. And then all of a sudden, I ended up on this program where I lived and worked in 16 countries around the world. Every new assignment, no matter where I was at in the world, I talked to my father every day. And it was the most amazing things for the boy from Ohio to go see some of these places around the world. And I'll never forget one day in the mid-90s, I was living in Versailles, a little suburb of Paris, France, and my father called me and said, "Scott, I need you to sit down. I don't know what happened, but I just got back from the doctor's office, and I've been diagnosed terminally ill with cancer, and I have less than a year left to live." I hung up the phone, bawling. I walked in and I quit my job. I came back to my hometown to spend that last year with the man who shaped me, gave me the values, gave me the phrase, "You can change the world." All you have to do is connect with the people around you. Connect the dots around you, and you can change the world. Now, GE, being the kind of company it was, I had made a few acquaintances and friends, and one of those happened to be a friend of mine named Gary Ranger, who was the CIO of GE. And he ended up having one of his guys call me and said, "You've got the job." "What?" "Well, when you get back to Ohio, you're going to be the IT leader of a division, but you understand for the next year, your job is to take care of your dad." And I'll tell you what, when you get a gift like that, you don't forget. Gary could call me today, I'd wash his car, I'd move his lawn. If you're watching, Gary, thanks. But from there, I ended up in a whole series of technology roles, up to and including where I, for whatever reason, got the responsibility of being the CIO for GE Aircraft Engine Services. So if you've ever flown on an airplane, looked out at the wing, and it was a GE engine, I was the CEO of that company. And then all of a sudden, I got launched into another opportunity with a small financial services company where I ran technology for a good portion of Bank of America. And then all of a sudden, I got this phone call from this company on the West Coast. And that mentor, 20 years ago, that took that risk on me, happened to be out here at this company. He was the CFO of eBay Inc., Bob Swan, and probably one of the smartest most focused people I know around developing the next generation of leaders. And so I took the phone call. And one of the things you have to understand about me, I'm very open about my wife, Kelly, and my daughter, Gabriella. Now, my wife, Kelly, and I, we started our family because of my experiences in living in different parts of the world by adopting Gabriella from Guatemala. Now, as part of the process of me getting to know more about eBay, I met this guy who works at eBay. And he told me about this story of going into Guatemala, outside of Guatemala City, past another city called Chichicastenango, into the villages, where people live in a way that you and I don't recognize. The children rummage through whatever materials they can find to help build a home out of plastic, out of cardboard, out of whatever they can find. The rainy season comes through, and they have to start over again. And this guy realized in this one village they made these beautiful belts. And then all of a sudden, he had an idea. He enabled this village to get money to them through microplace. $20 at a time, they made the belts. Then they sold these belts on eBay. And for whatever reason, people around the world started buying these belts by the droves. Today, every child lives in a concrete home. They built a school for the kids. They're paving the roads. And where it gets passionate for me is my daughter came from one of those villages. This person connected the dots, connected with the people around them, and they changed the world. So from here, you will continue to build experiences. You will continue to build your skills. You will continue to get more responsibilities. You were selected for a reason. Connect with the people around you. Connect the dots around you. And you will change the world.